you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the season 2 trailer that came out for Superman and Lois. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But it is interesting to immediately start the trailer off and there's issues between Clark and Lois. And she says like things have kind of been off for like a couple months now and I'm kind of blaming you. And Clark had asked like, oh, is it about the Natalie situation? Which she was like, no, like that's kind of got nothing to do with it. But it's like, yeah, that's a complicated thing. I mean, yes, you know the multiverse exists. You know, I mean, you've met other versions of Superman, but it's still, this is a bit different because, well, we know that, you know, Lois talked about it last season, how they lost a baby and she was going to name that baby Natalie. So now you're seeing like this Natalie from another world, and it's like it's a reminder kind of the baby lost, plus it's like she was able to live this full life, plus when she looks at you she sees her mom even though you're not her mom. So that's a whole complicated thing in itself. You know, it reopened that wound, and I think she wasn't really ready to talk about it. You know, I think she's still, you know, that wound never fully goes away, and I think she's still, you know, finding her way through it, and I think that wound just kind of reopened a bit with Natalie's appearance last season. I didn't even think about that in the season finale, but these things in the trailer made me think about that. I think even John has that whole conversation with Natalie. He's like, yeah, we need to keep a low profile, and Natalie's like, oh, you mean like circling the world in a suit with Superman? Because obviously she's gonna have some complicated feelings about this, because one, it's like, wow, you see your mom, but not only do you know that your mom's with someone else, when you find out, I mean, the conversation is, do they tell her about Clark's secret? You know, they're all kind of tight-knit now, so like, do they tell Natalie, like, oh yeah, like, your mom's married to Superman in his universe, which that's going to be a harder thing to handle. But also, like, even if they don't have that conversation, it's like, you're running around with Superman. Yes, he's in this is a different universe, but this is the same man who killed Mom. Like, how could you do that? You know, so there's that complication too. Like, John had all of last season to kind of work his feelings through all that and see Clark as someone different than the Superman from his world. But Natalie just arrived here, so that's going to be a whole complication in itself. Speaking of, Jonathan is going to be interesting, what this with Natalie's appearance does with like Jonathan and Jordan, because Jonathan out of anyone kind of felt that connection of like, right, like this is my like sister from a different world. So I think that's going to add a layers to this whole situation too for them. It's because it's like, oh, you're kind of like, you know, sadly the sister we never had, you know. So I'm curious to see how that dynamic ends up playing out. I'm also curious too, because it seems like Jordan wants to back Clark up more, so I think we're going to see him maybe potentially out in the field more, that he might be playing kind of that Superboy role in this regard. Well, I mean, I think Superboy in the comics traditionally is one of their kids anyway. It's typically Jonathan, but in this case Jordan's the one with the powers. So I think Jordan wants to kind of be out there more in the field, you know, very much like I mean, God, everyone's kids, you know, Oliver's kids, Barry's kids, even Jeff's kids, you know, like everyone's kids doing the superhero thing. So it's going to be interesting to see him kind of like dip his toe in that world. I'm sure Clark's going to have his reservations, but we'll see how that kind of ends up shaping up and playing out in this season. But a very big thing is, it seems like Clark is still dealing with the aftermath of something. At first I was wondering if it was the kryptonite, but I think that's all kind of cleared, the artificial kryptonite he was poisoned with last season. But it seems like it's still the after effects of having Zod, you know, a subconscious, like being in, I mean, another consciousness implanted in his own. It seems like, well, because his circumstances were different, he overrode that subconsciousness rather than like it getting wiped like everyone else's was. So the circumstances are a little bit different. So, because I'm wondering, like, is anyone else going to be suffering from the ramifications of it? But like I said, I think his circumstances are a little different. So the question is Zod still somewhere in there? Like, even though he buried the subconscious, but maybe there's enough of it left that Zod's fighting for some form of control back. Because he has these moments that almost like PTSD moments when like Lois is checking on him. He's like, no, get away, stay away, because he's scared, because he's losing control of himself, because I think he's scared that what if like Zod's coming back, what if I'm losing myself again? I mean, I thought this was done, but now it seems like I'm slipping, I'm losing control. There's even a situation where one of the military guys is like, I guess he's taking over maybe while Sam's kind of taking a step away from all of that he's the one that's in charge now, and he was like, you used to be like our greatest hero, but now you're more of a liability loyalty because of what's going on with him. Like, he's potentially losing his faculties. So you're potentially going from our greatest hero to potentially our greatest threat. Maybe all this stuff last season with the other Kryptonians plays a role in that too, now that the truth is kind of out there to some extent. So like, that's what I'm curious about. And I really love that line of like, basically your loyalty is supposed to be like to the American people or something, is what he was told. And he was like, I already gave my loyalty to the world years ago. And I think there's so many layers to that conversation, because for one, it's the conversation of like, I'm not just here for the US. Like, because if the military had their way, if the US had their way, they pin him down to be like, no, you kind of go where we send you out to. Like, they'll treat him more like a soldier. We'll send you out into the world to do what needs to be done, but they'll kind of regulate what he does. But it's like, no, my loyalty isn't just to this country, it's to the entire world. I gave my loyalty to it, you know? Because to me, that ties in very interestingly and nicely with the conversation Clark had with Jordan last season about trust. To me, I love that speech, you know, about how every time he uses his powers, his loyalty is tested over and over again. No matter how much goodwill he's built up with people, that loyalty is tested every time. And so it's almost like, I think in certain ways he's going to have to work his way back up after everything last season and what he's still going through now. So I think that's an interesting element. But I think it also ties in, interestingly enough, with, you know, the conversation that came up in DC fandom about Superman's mission statement changing from being truth, justice, and the American way to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Because it isn't just, you know, because the that original mission statement has been a part of Superman's history for so long. But, you know, obviously the world's changed so much, and Superman isn't just, you know, representative of like America anymore. He represents the entire world, and that's a thing of like, I represent the House of L symbol of hope isn't just for, you know, America, it's for the entire world. I'm here to be this entire world's protector, its shield, you know? So I think that plays into that interestingly enough as well. So a lot of really interesting things. I'm glad we're able to get this little insight of what to kind of expect from season 2. Obviously, these are probably just like, typically the CW trailers are usually like maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes, maybe. Sometimes it's just the first episode. So a lot of that seems like it could be from the same episode. So that still doesn't give you full insight to everything that's going to trickle out over the course of the season. But I'm very excited to have Superman and Lois back, and just I'm so excited to see what season 2 has in store for us. But obviously, these are just some of my thoughts. I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. What are some things you want to see? What are some things you expect to see? Let me know. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.